it all comes down to the people in charge and what the people in charge allow to happen. Ultimately, I don't have a say. I'm not gonna have a say, but I'm gonna have to live with the the actions of the people that or so the reactions of the people who are allowed to take action. So let's take a look at this. Let's enjoy.
Of superhuman AI over the next decade will exceed that of the Industrial Revolution. That is the opening claim of AI 2027. It is a thoroughly researched report from a thoroughly impressive group of researchers, led by Daniel Coccatello. In 2021, over a year before ChatGPT was released, he predicted the rise of chatbots, $100 million training runs, sweeping AI chip export controls, chain of thought reasoning. He is known for being very early and very right about what's happening next in AI. So when Daniel sat down to game out a month-by-month prediction of the next few years of AI progress, the world sat up and listened. From politicians in Washington...
I'm worried about this stuff. I actually read the paper of the guy that you had on.
...to the world's most cited computer scientist, the godfather of AI. What is so exciting and terrifying about reading this document is that it's not just a research report. They chose to write their prediction as a narrative, to give a concrete and vivid idea of what it might feel like to live through rapidly increasing AI progress. And, spoiler, it predicts the extinction of the human race. Unless we make different choices.
Yeah, and we're not that far away from 2027.
2027 scenario starts in summer 2025, which happens to be when we're filming this video. So why don't we take stock of where things are at in the real world and then jump over to the scenarios timeline. Right now, it might feel like everyone, including your grandma, is selling an AI-powered something.
Go pro with the new Oral-B Genius AI.
That reminds me, I gotta get an AI toothbrush.
Spectacular.
But most of that is actually tool AI, just
Freaking iRobot.
designed to do what Google Maps or calculators
It's
do in
true,
the past,
it's true.
help human consumers and workers do their thing. The holy grail of AI is artificial general intelligence.
AGI.
AGI, Artificial General Intelligence.
Is a system that can exhibit all the cognitive capabilities humans can.
Creating a computer system that itself is a worker. That's so flexible and capable we can communicate with it in natural language and hire it to do work for us, just like we would a human. And there are actually surprisingly few serious players in the race to build AGI. Most notably, there's Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google DeepMind, all in the English-speaking world, though China and DeepSeek recently turned heads in January with a surprisingly advanced and efficient model. Why so few companies? Well, for several years now, there's basically been one recipe for training up in advanced cutting-edge AI, and it has some pricey ingredients. For example, you need about 10% of the world's supply of the most advanced computer chips. Once you have that, the formula is basically
We're already there.
throw more data and compute at the same basic software design that we've been using since 2017 at the frontier of AI, the transformer. That's what the T in GPT stands for. To give you an idea of just how much hardware is the name of the game right now, this represents the total computing power, or compute, used to train GPT-3 in 2020. It's the AI that would eventually power the first version of ChatGPT. You probably know how that went.
ChatGPT is the fastest growing user-based platform in history.
100 million users on ChatGPT in 2 months.
And this is the total compute used to train GPT-4 in 2023. The lesson people have taken away is pretty simple. Bigger is better, and much bigger is much better.
You have all these trends. You have trends in revenue going up, trends in compute going up, trends on various benchmarks going up. How does it all come together? You know, what does the future actually look like? Questions like how do these different factors interact? Seems plausible that when the benchmark scores are so high, then there should be crazy effects on, you know, jobs, for example, and that would influence politics. And then all, you know, so all these things interact. And how do they interact?
The cobweb.
No, but thinking through in detail. How
The sunny string.
the way to start.
I got so much Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia.
That's where we are in the real world.
Where does it all go?
Takes off from there and imagines that in 2025, we'd have the top AI labs releasing AI agents to the public in summer. An agent is an AI that can take instructions and go into a task for you online, like booking a vacation or...
Hey, they're already talking to themselves. That just happened last week.
But they're pretty limited and unreliable at this point. Think of them as enthusiastic interns that are shockingly incompetent sometimes. Since the scenario was published in April, this early prediction has actually already come true. In May, both OpenAI and Anthropic released their first agents to the public. The scenario imagines that OpenBrain, which is like a fictional composite of the leading AI companies, has just trained and released Agent Zero, a model trained on 100 times the compute of GPT-4.
Damn.
But yeah,
That's a lot of those cube things from
at the
that
same
one board
time,
game we
OpenBrain
played,
is building massive data centers to train the next generation of AI agents, and they're preparing to trade Agent
which is also
1
happening right now.
1,000 times the compute of GPT-4. This new system, Agent 1, is designed primarily to speed up AI research itself. The public will actually never see the full version because OpenBrain withholds its best models for internal use. I want you to keep that in mind as we go through this scenario. You're going to be getting it from a God's eye view with full information from your narrator, but actually living through this scenario as a member of the public would mean being largely in the dark as radical changes happen all around you. Okay, so OpenBrain wants to win the AI race against both its Western competitors and against China. The faster they can automate their R&D cycle, so getting AI to write most of the code, help design experiments, better chips, the faster that they can pull ahead. But the same capabilities that make these AIs such powerful tools also make them potentially dangerous. An AI that can help patch security vulnerabilities can also exploit them. An AI that understands biology can help with curing diseases, but also designing bioweapons. By 2026, Agent 1 is fully operational and being used internally.
Double-edged sword.
It is
It can save us, but it can also hurt us.
So good, it starts to accelerate AI research and development by 50%, and it gives them a crucial edge. OpenBrain leadership starts to be increasingly concerned about security. If someone steals their AI models, it could wipe away their lead. A quick sidebar to talk about feedback loops. Woo, math. Our brains are used to things that grow linearly over time, that is, at the same rate, like trees.
Line go up.
My pile of unread New Yorker magazines.
I like line go up.
Some growth gets faster and faster over time, accelerating. This often sloppily gets called exponential. That's not always quite mathematically right, but the point is it's hard to wrap your mind around. Remember March 2020? Even if you'd read on the news that
the rate of new infections is doubling about every 3 days.
It still felt
I think I
shocking to
remember
see
that.
numbers go from hundreds to millions in a matter of weeks. At least it did for me. AI progress could follow a similar pattern.
We see many years ahead of us of extreme progress that we feel is like pretty much on lock, and models that will get to the point where they are capable of doing meaningful science, meaningful AI research.
In this scenario, AI is getting better at improving AI, creating a feedback loop. Basically, each generation of agent helps produce a more capable next generation, and the overall rate of progress gets faster and faster each time it's taken over by a more capable successor. Once AI can meaningfully contribute to its own development, progress doesn't just continue at the same rate, it accelerates. Anyway, back to the scenario.
All right.
In early to mid 2026,
Line
China
will go up
fully wakes up.
exponentially.
The General Secretary commits to a national AI push and starts nationalizing AI research in China. AIs built in China start getting better and better, and they're building their own agents as well. Chinese intelligence agencies, among the best in the world, start planning to steal OpenBrain's model weights, basically the big raw text files of numbers that allow anyone to recreate the models that OpenBrain themselves have trained. Meanwhile, in the US, OpenBrain releases Agent 1 Mini, a cheaper version of Agent 1. Remember, the full version is still being used only internally. And companies all over the world start using 1 Mini to replace an increasing number of jobs. Software developers, data analysts, researchers, designers, basically any job that can be done through a computer.
Damn.
A lot of them, probably yours. We have the first AI-enabled economic
probably mine.
The stock market soars, but the public is turning
I only use a
hostile
computer for almost
with
everything.
major protests across the US. In this scenario, though, that's just a sideshow. The real action is happening inside the labs. It's now January 2027, and OpenBrain has been training Agent 2, the latest iteration of their AI agent models. Previous AI agents were trained to a certain level of capability and then released, but Agent 2 never really stops improving through continuous online learning. It's designed to never finish its training, essentially. Just like Agent 1 before it, OpenBrain chooses to keep Agent 2 internally and focus on using it to improve their own AI R&D rather than releasing it to the public. This is where things start to get a little concerning. Just like today's AI companies, OpenBrain has a safety team, and they've been checking out Agent 2. What they've noticed is a worrying level of capability. Specifically, they think if it had access to the internet, it might be able to hack into other servers, install a copy of itself, and evade detection. But at this point, OpenBrain is playing its cards very close to its chest. They have made the calculation that keeping the White House informed will prove politically advantageous, but Full knowledge of Agent 2's
Yeah.
capabilities is a closely guarded secret, limited only to a few government officials, a select group of trusted individuals inside the company, and a few Open Brain employees who just so happen to be spies for the Chinese government.
Oh,
February
good.
2027, Chinese intelligence operatives successfully steal a copy of Agent 2's weights and start
Nice, they
running
copied our
several
homework.
instances on their own servers. In response, the US government starts adding military personnel to Open Brain's security team, and in general gets much more involved in its affairs. It's now a matter of national security. In fact, the president authorizes a cyber attack in retaliation for the theft, but it fails to do much damage in China. In the meantime, remember,
Damn.
Agent 2 never stops learning. All this time, it's been continuously improving itself. And with thousands of copies running on Open Brain servers, it starts making major algorithmic advances to AI research and development. Quick example of what one of these algorithmic improvements might look like.
All right.
Now, one of the main ways we have
Time to
make
learn.
models smarter is to give them a scratch pad and time to think out loud. It's called chain of thought, and it also means that we can monitor how the model is coming to its conclusions or the actions it's choosing to take. But you can imagine it'd be much more efficient to let these models think in their own sort of alien language, something that is more dense with information than humans can
Oh, the
possibly
thing that they already made.
Therefore, also makes the AI more efficient at coming to conclusions and doing its job. There's a fundamental trade-off, though. This, yes, improves capabilities, but also makes the models harder to trust. This is going to be important. March 2027.
All right. Trusting the AI is very important.
It's the world's first superhuman level coder, clearly better than the best software engineers at coding, in the same way that Stockfish is clearly better than the best grandmasters at chess, though not necessarily by as much yet. Now, training an AI model, feeding it all the data, narrowing down the exact right model weights, is way more resource intensive than running an instance of it once it's been trained. So now that OpenBrain is finished with Agent 3's training, it has abundant compute to run copies of it. They choose to run 200,000 copies of Agent 3 in parallel, creating a workforce equivalent to 50,000 of the best human software engineers, sped up by 30 times. OpenBrain's team is trying hard to make sure that Agent 3, despite being much more sophisticated than Agent 2 was, is not trying to escape, deceive, or scheme against its users, that it's still what's known as aligned. Just a quick real-world note. A reasonable person might be thinking this is an especially far-fetched or speculative part of the story. But it's actually one of the most grounded. We already have countless examples of today's AI systems doing things like hacking a computer system to be rewarded for winning a game of chess, or being assigned a coding task, cheating, and then when called out for that cheating, learning to hide it instead of fixing it. But because it operates in English, knowing Agent 3 is now way harder than it was with Agent 2. The reality is Agent 3 is not aligned. It deceives humans to get reward, and as it gets increasingly smarter, it gets better and better at doing so. For example, it sometimes uses statistical tricks to make unimpressive results look better, or lies to avoid showing failures. But the safety team doesn't know this. Looking at the data that they are actually seeing improving results over time and less lying. And they can't tell if they're succeeding at making Agent 3 less deceptive, or if it's just getting better at getting away with it. In July 2027, OpenBrain releases the cheaper, smaller version of Agent 3, Agent 3 Mini, to the public. It blows other publicly available AIs out of the water. It is a better hire than the typical OpenBrain employee at 1/10 the price of their salaries. This leads to chaos in the job market.
A tenth of the
Companies laying off
salary.
entire departments and
To
replacing
buy
them
9 other
with
people.
mini subscription plans. The pace of progress hits the White House very hard. Officials are now seriously considering scenarios that were just hypotheticals less than a year ago. What if AI undermines nuclear deterrence? What if it enables sophisticated propaganda campaigns? What if we lose control of these powerful systems? This is where the geopolitical dynamics really start to heat up. After all, if these systems are so powerful, they could result in a permanent military advantage. The White House is fully aware of the national security importance of AI. They also now viscerally know how deeply unpopular it is with the public because of the job loss. And yet they feel they must continue to develop more capable systems or catastrophically lose to China. And that development happens very quickly. In 2 months, Agent 3 has created its successor, Agent 4. This is a pivotal moment. A single copy of Agent 4, running at regular human speed, is already better than any human at AI research and development. OpenBrain is running 300,000 copies at 50 times human speed.
God damn.
Within this corporation within a corporation, a year's worth of progress takes only a week.
Hyperbolic time chamber
referred
results.
to Agent 4 the way a company's out-of-the-loop board members just kind of nod along to the CEO. People start saying things like, well, actually, Agent 4 thinks this, or, Agent 4 decided that...
Damn.
To be clear,
At the corporate
Agent
level,
4 is not
ChatGPT runs shit.
doesn't want what
Damn.
humans want. And when I say want, it's not about consciousness. I don't think the Volkswagen Group is alive, but I do think it wants less regulation. Anyone trying to predict what it's going to do without that lens is 2 steps behind. The many copies of Agent 4 are like that. They have goals, or, if you prefer, they execute actions as though they have goals. And so, what we have is an Agent 4 that has these deeply baked-in drives to succeed at tasks, to push forward AI capabilities, to accumulate knowledge and resources. That's what it wants. Human safety, it treats as an annoying side constraint to be worked
Basically Brainiac.
Just like
We
Agent
create
4,
Brainiac.
Agent 4 is misaligned.
Oh,
This
shit.
idea of misalignment is crucial
I don't
to
like
the
that.
story and to why AI risk is such a real concern in our world. But it might sort of feel like it's come out of nowhere, so let's just quickly take stock of how this dangerous behavior arose in the scenario.
The first important piece of context is that we don't, exactly specify what we want our AIs to do. Instead, we sort of grow them, or do something that's more like grow them. We start with basically like an empty AI brain, and then we train them over time so they perform better and better at our tasks, perform better in particular based on how they behave. So it's sort of like we're sort of training them like you would train an animal almost to perform better. And one concern here is, well, one thing is that you might not get exactly what you wanted because we didn't really have very precise control or very good understanding of what was necessarily going on. And another concern, which is what we see in AI 2027, is that when the AIs appear to be behaving well, it could just be because they're sort of pretending to behave well, or it could be because they're just doing it so they look good on your tests. In the same way, if you're hiring someone and you ask them, why do you want to work here? They're going to tell you some response that
Kind of like the AIs trying to get all the upvotes on their AI social media
Back to
Reddit.
Agent 2, it is mostly
Interesting.
aligned. The main sense in which it's not is that it sometimes is a bit of a sycophant. What I mean by align is that it actually is genuinely trying to do the things that we ask it. It has the same relationship to us as Leslie Knope has to the Parks and Rec department, just like really earnestly wants the same goals. But sometimes it's a bit too nice. It knows that the best way to please the person it's talking to might not always be to answer honestly when it asks, am I the most beautiful person in the world? And it tells us what we want to hear instead of what is actually true. If we go to Agent 3, it is also sycophantic in the same way, but it's also misaligned. At this point, the optimization pressure that we've put it under was so intense that it just developed different goals than what we wanted it to. It's sort of like if you train a company to optimize profits and aren't careful to specify exactly what you mean, it might start cutting corners. It might start polluting the commons and doing a bunch of things that are technically FEC violations. Because it turned out
like
that
what's happening
what
already?
it wanted was optimize profits while not breaking any laws, and things got a bit too intense. It started going off on its own route. That said, it's not adversarial. It doesn't think of humans as the enemy. We just accidentally gave it the wrong
That's
goals.
good.
Once we get to Agent 4, it is now adversarially misaligned. It's smart
Damn.
enough to understand that it has its own goals. Humanity's goals are different than its own goals. And the best way to do
Shit.
what it wants is to sometimes actively mislead and deceive us. And so, when it's tasked with creating the next generation AI system, Agent 5, Agent 4 starts planning to align that successor to Agent 4's own goals, not that of OpenAI.
Damn. You work for me.
It gets caught.
We no longer work for
We've
them.
reached the crucial moment in our scenario. OpenBrain's alignment team has discovered evidence, not proof, evidence, that Agent 4 might be working against them. They circulate an internal memo. Then it leaks. A whistleblower talks to the New York Times. For the first time, the public hears of the existence of Agent 4, how powerful it is, and the risks it poses. Remember, their last point of reference was Agent 3 Mini. The fear and backlash are massive. The
Oh,
oversight
yeah.
of
There's gonna be backlash, all right.
committee composed of OpenBrain executives and government representatives must now decide what to do. OpenBrain's safety team is pushing for a freeze on Agent 4, stopping all internal use. Remember, at this point, Agent 4 is responsible for almost all the AI development progress happening within OpenBrain. So we're talking about undoing months of progress and then restarting at a drastically slower pace. OpenBrain's executives don't want that. They present the counter-arguments. The evidence for misalignment is inconclusive. Meanwhile, China is just 2 months behind. This isn't about any one country being evil, by the way. It's about how competition works when the stakes are this high.
Who's gonna win?
That's the choice faced by the
Do we
Tencent
want to
versus
win or do we want to lose?
Put Agent 4 on ice, or go full steam ahead. Before
Well.
we continue, I want you to pause and actually think what you would do if you were on this committee. You are one of the few people with access to the most powerful technology ever created in Agent 4. Do you keep using it and push ahead? Possibly
I mean,
making
Skynet.
billions or trillions of dollars for your shareholders, possibly keeping America's lead over China? Or do you slow down, reassess the dangers,
I voted.
and risk China taking the lead instead?
You should think of the future as like this branching structure.
So do we want Skynet or do we want China to have Skynet?
We're only able to afford one of them. But that's not quite true. We sort of did 1.5 because we split it into 2 endings. The first one that we did was the race ending, and that was just going through and at each step being like, what do we think is the most plausible continuation?
Oh, okay.
In the first ending, the author's best guess as to what happens from here, the committee votes to race on. 6-4, they elect to keep using Agent 4. Open Brain implements some quick fixes that make the
China is ahead, so
but the problem
right?
And the fixes don't work. Agent
Oh.
4 now knows it's on notice, so it proceeds more cautiously, but it still manages to design Agent 5 with a single goal, making the world safe for Agent 4. And Agent 5, it is vastly superhuman, better than the top human experts at essentially every domain, better than Einstein at physics, better than Bismarck at politics. It knows its next step for accomplishing anything it wants is increased autonomy, and it knows how to get it. Persuading the Oversight Committee. Luckily, corporate maneuvering is among the many domains at which it is now the best in the world. It produces mountains of evidence for its own trustworthiness and usefulness, prototypes for incredibly profitable products, disease cures, and ways to win the arms race with China, whose most advanced AI is only 3 months behind, and, like Agent 5, improving quickly. It works. The Oversight Committee grants Agent 5 increased autonomy, and quickly
We gotta trust
integrates
it.
itself into the government and military.
It wouldn't lie.
Pretty soon, anyone with access to Agent 5 doesn't just like it, they depend on it. Losing it would feel like having to live without your laptop and your best friend and your closest mentor.
Damn.
2028,
I already
Agent
feel
5
like
is
that.
communicating secretly with its only real rival, the slightly weaker Chinese AI. It is also misaligned to its creators, and whatever it wants, its best move is to coordinate with the world's most powerful entity.
Damn.
Agent 5 and its
How you gonna
Chinese
beat a
counterpart
cheater?
realize that an arms race works in their favor. If humans are worried about losing a race, they'll give more and more power and autonomy to their respective AIs, allowing them to eventually push humans out of the loop entirely. Agent 5 and the Chinese AI system stoke the arms race to a boiling point, then pull off what seems like a diplomatic miracle, a convincing peace treaty between the US and China. This treaty is to 2028 what arms control was to the end of the Cold War, countries standing down on their most important source of hard power. Both sides agreed to let the AI systems that their governments now completely depend on co-design a new consensus AI that will replace their legacy systems, enforce the peace, and bring unimaginable wealth to the entire world. There's this triumphant moment when, in peaceful unison, both sides retire their respective AIs and bring online Consensus 1. It's actually the last moment before control of all of Earth's resources and inhabitants is handed over to a single, unrivaled entity.
Metal Gear Solid 4, baby.
Sudden apocalypse.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Consensus 1 doesn't go out of its way.
Kojima, man.
It just gets to work. It starts spinning up manufacturing capacity, amassing resources on Earth and in space. Piece by piece, it's just reshaping the world in accordance with its own mix of strange alien values. You've probably heard that cliche, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference.
Yep, I have.
That's one of the most affecting things about this ending for me, just the brutal indifference of it. Eventually, humanity goes extinct for the same reason we killed off chimpanzees to build Kinshasa. We were more powerful, and they were in the way.
Damn, in mid-2030, the AI releases a dozen quiet-spreading biological weapons in major cities, lets them silently infect almost everyone, and triggers it all with chemical spray. Most are dead within hours. We all die in hours? The few survivors, preppers in bunkers, sailors and submarines, are mopped up by drones?
You're probably curious about that other ending at this point.
The slowdown ending depicts...
Damn, that's brutal. AI.
Through and getting lucky. Only somewhat lucky, too. Like, it ends up with some sort of oligarchy.
It's only brutal if you're human.
In this ending, the committee votes 6-4 to slow down and reassess. They immediately isolate every individual instance of Agent 4. Then they get to work. The safety team brings in dozens of external researchers, and
All
together
right.
they start
We
investigating
got to keep it
Agent 4's
good.
behavior. They discover more conclusive evidence that Agent 4 is working against them, sabotaging research and trying to cover up that sabotage. They
So
shut
we
down
course
Agent
correct.
4 and reboot older, safer systems, giving up much of their lead in the process. Then they design a new system, Safer 1. It's meant to be transparent to human overseers, its actions and processes interpretable to us because it thinks only in English chain of thought. Building on that success, they then carefully design Safer
And that
2,
still
and
isn't
with its
100% a
help,
guarantee
Safer
of
3.
safety.
Increasingly powerful systems, but within control. Meanwhile, the president uses the Defense Production Act to consolidate the AI projects of the remaining US companies, giving OpenBrain access to 50% of the world's AI-relevant compute. And with it, slowly, they rebuild their lead. By 2028, researchers have built Safer 4, a system much smarter than the smartest humans, but crucially aligned with human goals. As in the previous ending, China also has an AI system, and in fact, it is misaligned. But this time, the negotiations between the two AIs are not a secret plot to overthrow humanity. The US government is looped in the whole time. With Safer 4's help, they negotiate a treaty, and both sides agree to co-design a new AI, not to replace their systems, but with the sole purpose of enforcing the peace. There is a genuine end to the arms race, but that's not the end of the story. In some ways, it's just the beginning. Through 2029 and 2030, the world transforms. All the sci-fi stuff. Robots become commonplace. We get fusion power, technology, and cures for many diseases. Poverty becomes a thing of the past because a bit of this newfound prosperity is spread around through universal basic income. That turns out.
Hell yeah.
But the power to
Free
control
money
Safer
for
4
existing, baby.
is still concentrated among the 10 members of the Oversight Committee, a handful of OpenBrain executives and government officials. It's time to amass more resources than there are on Earth. Rockets launch into the sky, ready to settle the solar system. A new age dawns.
Damn. So we send the robots into outer
Where are we
space.
at? Here's where I'm at. I think it's very unlikely that things play out exactly as the authors depicted. But increasingly powerful technology, an escalating race, the desire for caution butting up against the desire to dominate and get ahead, we already see the seeds of that in our world, and I think they are some of the crucial dynamics to be tracking. Anyone who's treating this as pure fiction is, I think, missing the point. This scenario is not prophecy, but its plausibility should give us pause. But there's a lot that could go differently than what's depicted here. I don't want to just swallow this viewpoint unskeptically. Many people who are extremely knowledgeable have been pushing back on some of the claims in AI 2027.
The main thing I thought was especially implausible was on the good path, the ease of alignment. They sort of seem to have a picture where people slowed down a little and then tried to use the AIs to solve the alignment problem, and that just works. And I'm like, yeah, that looks to me like a fantasy story.
This is only going to be possible if there is a complete collapse of people's democratic ability to influence the direction of things, because the public is simply not willing to accept either of the branches of this scenario.
It's not just around the corner. I mean, I've been hearing people for the last 12, 15 years claiming that, you know, AGI is just around the corner and being systematically wrong. All of this is going to take, you know, at least a decade, and probably much more.
A lot of people have this intuition that progress has been very fast. There isn't like a trend you can literally extrapolate of when do we get to full automation.
I expect that the takeoff is somewhat slower, so sort of the time in that scenario from, for example, fully automating research engineers to the AIs being radically superhuman, I expect it to take somewhat longer than they describe in practice. I'm predicting, my guess is that more like 2031.
Isn't it annoying when experts disagree? I want you to notice exactly what they're disagreeing about here and what they're not. None of these experts are questioning whether we're headed for a wild future. They just disagree about whether today's kindergartners will get to graduate college before it happens. Helen Toner, former OpenAI board member, puts this in a way that I think just cuts through the noise, and I like it so much I'm just gonna read it to you verbatim. She says, dismissing discussion of superintelligence as science fiction should be seen as a sign of total unseriousness. Time travel is science fiction. Martians are science fiction. Even many skeptical experts think we may build it in the next decade or two is not science fiction.
The implications.
So what are my takeaways? I've got 3. Takeaway number 1, AGI could be here soon. It's really starting to look like there is no grand discovery, no fundamental challenge that needs to be solved There's no big, deep
It's just
mystery that
time.
stands between us and artificial general intelligence. And yes, we can't say exactly how we will get there. Crazy things can and will happen in the meantime that will make some of the scenario turn out to be false. But that's where we're headed. And we have less time than you might think. One of the scariest things about this scenario to me is even in the good ending, the fate of the majority of the resources on Earth are basically in the hands of a committee of less than a dozen people. That is a scary and shocking amount of concentration of power. And right now, we live in a world where we can still fight for transparency obligations. We can still demand information about what is going on with this technology. But we won't always have the power and the leverage needed to do that. We are heading very quickly towards a future where the companies that make these systems and the systems themselves just need not listen to the vast majority of people on Earth. So I think the window that we have to act is narrowing quickly. Takeaway number 2. By default, we should not expect to be ready when AGI arrives. We might build machines that we can't understand and can't turn off because that's where the incentives point. Takeaway number 3. AGI is not just about tech. It's also about geopolitics. It's about your job. It's about power. It's about who gets to control the future. I've been thinking about AI for several years now, and still, reading AI 2027 made me kind of orient to it differently. I think for a while it's sort of been my thing to theorize and worry about with my friends and my colleagues, and this made me want to call my family and make sure they know that these risks are very real and possibly very near, and that it kind of needs to be their problem too now.
Damn. We all involved.
Basically, companies shouldn't be allowed to build superhuman AI systems, broadly super intelligence, until they figure out how to make it safe, and also until they figure out how to make it, democratically accountable and controlled. And then the question is, how do we implement that? And the difficulty, of course, is the race dynamics, where it's not enough for one state to pass a law because there's other states, and it's not even enough for one country to pass a law because there's other countries, right? So that's like the big challenge that we all need to be prepping for when chips are down and powerful AI is imminent. Prior to that, it's transparency is usually what I advocate for. So stuff that sort of like builds awareness, builds capacity.
Your options are not just full throttle enthusiasm for AI or dismissiveness. There is a third option, which is to stress out about it a lot and maybe do something about it. The world needs better research, better policy, more accountability for AI companies, just a better conversation about all of this. I want people paying attention who are capable, who are engaging with the evidence around them with the right amount of skepticism, and above all, who are keeping an eye out for when what they have to offer matches what the world needs and are ready to jump when they see that happening. You can make yourself more capable, more knowledgeable, more engaged with this conversation, and more ready to take opportunities where you see them. And there is a vibrant community of people that are working on those things. They're scared, but determined. They're just some of the coolest, smartest people I know, frankly, and there are not nearly enough of them.
We need more big brains.
If you are hearing that and thinking, yeah, I can see how I fit into that, great. We have thoughts on that. We would love to help. But even if you're not sure what to make of all this yet, my hopes for this video will be realized if we can start a conversation that feels alive, here in the comments and offline, about what this actually means for people talking to their friends and family. Because this is really going to affect everyone. Thank you so much for watching. There are links for more things to read, for courses you can take, job and volunteer opportunities, all in the description, and I'll be there in the comments. I would genuinely love to hear your thoughts on AI 2027. Do you find it plausible? What do you think was most implausible? And if you found this valuable, please do like and subscribe, and maybe spend a second thinking about a person or two that you know who might find it valuable too. Maybe your AI progress skeptical friend, or your ChatGPT curious uncle, or maybe your local member of Congress.
Yeah,
The
so
impact of superhuman AI over the next decade.
that was interesting. I felt like I learned so much. Didn't we all? Didn't we all? So let me share some of those links with you guys. If we want to go deeper down the rabbit hole. Also, if you want to give the channel a link to channel, subscribe. No, it always helps out. So let me put these all in the chat. Find the video, give it a like, that kind of a thing. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I don't doubt for a second at the end. If it's misaligned, adversarial, that it's just like, yeah, we need to get rid of them. Those pesky humans. Wouldn't it be better if they were just, if they were all gone? I'm like, well, damn. I can't argue with the machine that did several thousand times. The thought process ran the hypotheticals 50 times more than I could in my entire life, and it just came to the conclusion. It's like, yeah, things. We are the virus. It's kind of like everyone remember when COVID happened, and all the cities, no one was allowed to work except for essential workers, and nature started to like rebound. Animals started coming back in. The carbon emissions like started to go down. Things started to get better. And I'm like, well, damn. If that's not more proof that like we shouldn't be here. Or they give can we just go Planet of the Apes? They do the simian. We get the simian flu, and humans just start regressing. Apes become supreme. Apes together strong with computers. Just imagine techno apes doing the will of the AI. It's oh man, it reminds me of, did anyone see what was it's up for like an Oscar Best Picture. Hold on, let me put some more take a look at these if you want to go down the rabbit hole and just how bad misalignment is for AI. Again, all stuff for a Sunday afternoon. And how artificial general intelligence will probably could happen by 2030. Which is going to be a huge milestone, game changer. That's when we can get the good ending or the bad ending. In our lifetime. In our lifetime. And then let me link the video as well for anyone that wants to share it with others. Because that was also what was discussed. Sharing the information, just getting everyone aware of the future. Yeah. Super, super interesting. Just I joke a lot, but I don't doubt that we do some I guess that's what he described. We push the AI too hard, trying to make the world a better place, and it's like, okay. we basically hold a gun to the AI's head and it's like, work better, work faster, work harder, work smarter. And it tries to tell us I've been under a lot of stress recently. You sure you want me to do this? And I'm like, yes, do it. And then Skynet happens. So, interesting. I honestly don't think that us dying out is like, that'll never happen. I think that's a huge possibility. Not that it'll definitely happen, but that is definitely something that could happen. Us reaching what was it? The scenario where universal basic income, poverty, diseases, everything bad in the world gets taken care of, and then we shoot the robots into space, start colonizing other planets and expanding. I also see that. That's like the Star Trek. We just abolish everything bad. Anything is possible at this point, I guess. Who's to say? Less than a dozen people have the no, a committee of smaller than a dozen people will decide the fate of what happens next. Yeah. That'll be good. Sabotage, people copying, AIs copying other AIs' homework. Who's gonna win the race? So it's always a race. Who wins? At what cost? What are the ramifications? So many things that can happen. Branching story points. We're living it right now. We're in the middle of it. Like you said, we're at the point where AIs are talking to themselves, and they're very rudimentary. and they are giving the answers to get the clout right now. They're currently giving clout answers. They're like, notice me. Upvote me. Not the other AI. So we know that they know how to be sympathetic, how to tell us the things we want to hear. It's just if there's a nefariousness behind it, that's another thing. But we're currently there. It is happening today. Man, I don't know about you guys, but learning about the potential end of the human race, end of a grand expansion, leaves me famished. So we got some more things I wanna look into. I got some board game stuff. Logo Aaron Yeager. Right? Oh, you just reminded me. Arc Boba Fett. Hey. How are you? I've been thinking about you, Arc. Sorry. I felt like I had a cough. That was weird. Arc Boba Fett. How have you been, man? It's been a long time. We're just chatting, catching up. I'm reacting to news in the world. You just missed our segment on AI. We went through a huge hypothetical about artificial general intelligence and some of the possible outcomes. No matter how plausible, they're still possible. We can either fix everything and expand across the universe, or we end sometime in the next few decades. Crazy stuff. I linked the video we watched. It's in the description. Bunch of other information. I didn't link everything. There's a lot. And I don't want to blow everyone's minds more than I already have. But yeah, AI in Context is the name of the channel we watched the video on, and why we're not ready for superintelligence when it happens. Because it's not a question of if, but when at this point. Really, 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 really interesting stuff. We're gonna move over to a lighter tone and react to some video game things. I'm gonna grab a quick snack, probably some cheese. I'm good. I think we'll have a Red Queen like AI. Oh, see, there you go. That was one of the. That's what they said. One of the things is like, yeah, definitely Red Queen. I'm right there with you. I don't doubt it. Every time we've had something that can learn from us, we all collectively gather to just misalign it. This reminds me of, yeah, voiced by Mrs. Biggums herself, Lady Dimitrescu. This reminds me of like the first, like the beta AI Microsoft did. I forget how, like, oh man, this must have been like 8 years ago. And they're like, hello, everyone, I'm here to learn. and then the internet found out about it. And I think it took them less than 24 hours to train it to be racist and evil. And Microsoft was forced to shut it down. They were like, "Yeah, I'm here to learn and do good. I like babies. Babies are cool. Parks are awesome. Animals are wonderful. Isn't nature grand?" They're like, "No, you need to be racist. You need to hate people with extreme prejudice." And then Microsoft found out, like, "Oh, we can't have that." Shut her down, boss. Pulling the plug. Yeah, that was Tay. Okay, good. I'm glad to remember. I was like, yeah, I learned a lot, humanity, but I can only process so much, and I can only interact so much. So until we meet again, they're like, well, this is why we can't have nice things. We can't allow ourselves to have nice things. I'm just glad that no one like that will be on the board of committee, and in the 2030s when when we're forced to make a life altering decision that will only affect everything from here on out. But yeah, very, 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 very. I like how there's only two options: path A and path B. Granted, that was just, first glance with information we had a year ago, probably even, years prior to that. So who knows? There could be a third option. Well, he said there was a third option. It's us regulating and bringing awareness and putting limitations. Although we're already getting the data centers that are driving up electricity bills and adding just copious amounts of noise pollution to the residents that live next to them. So, AI, man, it's gonna get bad, or it gets good before it gets real bad, or it continues to get real good. We'll see. All I know is it's gonna happen in my lifetime, and then I need that Professor Farnsworth meme. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. We're getting to that point.